The Transcontinental Railroad threads a thin line of civilization through the wilderness. People follow. In just 1 year, 40,000 settlers moved to Nebraska, fanning out across the frontier in wagon trains.
When in the mid-19th century to the late 19th century, they went out and settled some hostile territory known to mankind in the Great Plains where I grew up. These were true pioneers.
The government accelerates the process with the greatest land giveaway in history. Anyone with a $10 filing fee can claim free land. A quarter are single women and ex-slaves.
When you see the desperate scramble in these rickety wagon trains, you realize that the promise of America was land. These are people who never in a million years would be able to own land in Europe.
Eventually, 10% of the United States will be given away under the Homestead Act.
I'm not going back to Indiana to rent until I bust entirely and have to walk back.
Uriah Oblinger, Civil War vet, claims his 160 acres in Nebraska. There's a catch. 110-degree summers spark prairie fires. Trees can't survive the drought and flames. There's so little rain, nothing grows here but grass. Without lumber to build houses, the new inhabitants live in mud huts, built of sod, cut from the plains. Uriah dismantles his wagon to make doors and windows.
They often had insects. They invited snakes. It was, well, pretty much like living in a burrow in the ground.
I think the pioneers did have it hard. They conserved, they were frugal. The one dress lasted a long, long time.
For Uriah's wife, Maddie, it's a price worth paying.
I expect you think we live miserable because we are in a sod house. But I tell you in solid earnest, I never enjoyed myself better. Every lick we strike is for ourselves and not half for someone else.
The devout Oblingers face daily tests of their faith. With no mountains to stop the wind, the Great Plains are a breeding ground for massive thunderstorms.
The most objection I have to the weather here is the wind. There's a great deal of it during winter and spring, and being nothing to break it, one feels it more.
Don't go too far, honey.
The Oblingers live in Tornado Alley. More twisters hit this region than anywhere else on Earth.
Ellie! Ellie! Ellie!
Over 400 touch down every year.
Tell the folks they never seen a storm in Indiana. Only playthings.
200-mile-an-hour winds spin into a vortex, sucking in air and anything not bolted down. In 1930, a man is carried a mile across Kansas. Fish and toads rain from the sky. The Oblingers hunker down in their heavy sod house, clinging to their newfound independence.
I think that we're a nation of people descended from tough old coots and tough old broads. And I say that with great admiration. They just wanted to control their own future and to have children who could control their own destiny.
Tornadoes aren't the only biblical challenge the Oblingers face. By a river in the Rockies, the end of the world is brewing. A prehistoric species emerges to battle for the Great Plains. Locusts. After devouring the local vegetation, They release pheromones that signal it's time to move on. They grow long wings. Swarms head east on the wind. They join up over the Great Plains and become a plague. In 1874, they devour half of the crops in the West. 3 trillion locusts. Half a mile high, 100 miles wide, 1,000 miles long, as big as Colorado. They block out the sun. Agricultural Armageddon. To men like Uriah, the locusts are the wrath of God. By 1892, half the population of western Nebraska goes back east. Uriah stays.
You have to be brave in order to achieve in this country because nothing's set right there for you. You have to take chances. And I think bravery and fear are the same things. It's just a matter of how you react to that same feeling.
Those who stick it out get lucky. Within 30 years, the locust is extinct. Its breeding grounds in the Rockies plowed over by settlers like Uriah. In 10 years, the Great Plains become the breadbasket of the country. For the first time, America can feed itself. Today, 50 million tons of wheat is farmed each year. But trees are still scarce, and to build towns, settlers need wood. In Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, loggers harvest over 50 million acres of trees. Green gold, a magnet for Scandinavian woodsmen. Between 1825 and 1925, a third of Norway's entire population comes to America, including Nils Haugen.
The pay was $3 a day. You had to have a good pair of driving boots, well caulked, to be able to keep on top of the logs.
There's millions of dollars at stake. If the flow of logs stops, towns can't be built. Logjam, Riverman's ruin. In 1886, pine to build 20,000 homes gets stuck on the St. Croix River. 150 million feet of wood. Remove the right log, and the rest will explode downstream. Rivermen die, clearing obstructions like this. In 1892, 2 billion feet of lumber will be cut in Wisconsin alone. The railroad feeds lumber into the West's construction boom. Towns are built so fast, there's no time to name streets. They're given letters and numbers. The Great Plains is also home to the most numerous species of large wild mammal on Earth. 30 million buffalo. Herds up to 25 miles long race to summer breeding grounds. On a collision course with the modern world.